Hey, what the hell? Why you hanging on the roof all by yourself? I have an open invitation, but you're telling me go get Yeah, what the hell? So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we feeling right now. Some Chardonnay, we camp in the parking lot. Leave traces of plastic cups. We're just doing what we feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell? So what the hell? What are you waiting for now? And what the hell? You're pretending that you like somebody else, like you got boys waiting in line to take you home. But tell the truth, you'll spend the night alone. Let's be alone. So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? Are you waiting so for what the hell? So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell?
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. It's crazy. You could save me from my isolation. My too complicated. I stop these conversations. Darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. No relation. We got no relation.
Hey, what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? I have an open invitation, but you're telling me go get lost. I don't wanna see your face. Yeah, what the hell? So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we're feeling right now. Some Chardonnay, we camp in the parking lot. Leave traces of plastic cups. We're just doing what we're feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what
So, a warm welcome as well to everyone tuning in over on YouTube. We're about to get underway then for our fourth round of the Daytona Milton Keynes Super Champs. As you can see on the screen, and if you're at circuit in front of you, everyone is pretty much in their carts, which means practice is about to be getting underway. Let's run everyone through then our championship orders in the N35 category. In the lightweights, Matthew Glazebrook leads the way, having won all 3 rounds, picking up the fastest lap in every single round as well. However, with the likes of Adam Barras and Callum Poulter returning to the N35 championship, things might be a little bit trickier for Matthew to get the clean sweep today. Luke Power has been having a very good run. He's currently sitting second in the championship, just 2 points behind Harry Asher, 2 points ahead of Harry Asher, who is the current Junior Sprint League champion. Adam Green is running in 4th ahead of Alexei Ivanov in 5th. In the N35 Heavyweight Championship, Barry Morris finds himself leading 6 points ahead of Hamish Eisner, and then comes Aidan Miller and Charlie Fenton. Charlie Fenton having won both of the last 2 rounds, or I say last 2 rounds. He has won the last 2 rounds, picking up a clean sweep in round 2, a total of 51 points. In round 3, though, just the race win, no fastest lap. So once drop scores come into effect, things will be very close between Barry Morris and Charlie Fenton, both drivers who have N35, or I should say 4-stroke titles to their name. In the D-Max lightweight category, James Bettison leads the championship by 6 points ahead of Jamie Tylee-Gooden. And then it is Dom Balasaitis who is in 3rd, but Dom Balasaitis has missed out a round of the championship. So if you add another 45 points or so, he's only going to be 5 or 6 points behind Jamie Tylee-Gooden. Ethan Pritchard is running in 5th behind Lewis Barton. The pair of them have also missed out a round of the championship. In the D-Max heavyweight class, James Brown is leading by 3 points ahead of Kuba Wozniak. James Brown is leading by 3 points over Ian Riley, and then Kuba Wozniak is a further 3 points back. So just 6 points separating the top 3 drivers. Then comes the likes of Daniel Crawley and Sebastian Musica and Ollie Walker. 22 points between those top 6 drivers. Justin Elliott has missed a round of the championship, as has Graham Ward and Josh Davis. Josh Davis actually having missed out 2 rounds. So taking those drop rounds into consideration, they are well within the championship hunt. And we are now green on circuit, so our D-Maxes are heading out on to track. Now, usually our Sodis would follow them out onto circuit. However, we have brand new tyres on the D-Max karts, which means that they are getting a couple of minutes so that they can scrub in their tyres and they don't have to use up their 10 minutes of practice, essentially getting those tyres cleaned up a little bit. And there you can see in pit lane is our Sodis about to head out on to circuit. Luke Power currently 3rd in that train of karts, and he has Callum Poulter directly behind him, followed by Harry Asher and Adam Barras. And that should make for some pretty exciting racing out on circuit. And once our karts come through the final couple of corners, the D-Maxes, our timings should now update with the names of our drivers currently on circuit. Lee Schnitzler leading the field as he makes his way through turn 1. And now we wait for the times to update. Lee Schnitzler will be making his way towards turn 9. Here he comes. You can see his car flinging its way through that long left-hander and then down into the hairpin of turn 10 before he will head into that final corner. And then back he'll go through turn 1 and up the hill towards turn 2. And now that our D-Maxes have done a couple of laps, we can get our Sodis out on to circuit. And away we go, and our timings will update as well in sync as practice is now underway. Here comes Schnitzler and Brown through the final corner then to complete their first lap of practice. And now our Sodis come over the line as well. We have a yellow flag out on circuit. As Dom Balasatis comes to a halt on the approach into turn 4. Jamie Tyler Gooden was at the top of the times. As our timings update. So, currently at the top of the times is Andrew McMeekin with a 1:13.6, half a second quicker than Kuba Wozniak, who is in turn apparently 3 seconds quicker than James Brown. So I am going to hazard a guess that there has been some shenanigans happening out on circuit, because that doesn't make sense. And it might be somewhat due to the yellow flag. There goes Lee Schnitzler and James Brown through turn 1 and into the chicane of turns 2 and 3. And just behind the pair is James Bettison, who has, I believe, just been passed by Cooper Wozniak. So that pair can try to hunt down the field up ahead, as James Bettison has been I think almost somewhat squeezed onto the grass by one of the Sodis who had Lee Schnitzler on one side, didn't realise that Betterson was on the other side as they all head down the hill now towards the hairpin of turn 8. So it's still that 113.6 set by Andrew McMeekin. I'm sure he's going to get absolutely obliterated because I am expecting lap times in the 60s. There goes Lee Schnitzler with a 111.0. So the new fast lap of the session, 2/10 clear of James Betterson, followed by James Brown, Cooper Wozniak, Jamie Tyler Gooden, and then comes Zach Titterton in 6th place. Zach Titterton, I believe, one of the JZ Racing drivers. We saw the JZ Racing team competing in the Daytona 24 Hours. Ethan Pritchard currently in 7th, ahead of Paul Studd, Ian Riley, Andy Strait, Sebastian Musica, Andrew McMeekin, the anonymous of Kart 118. Then comes Justin Elliott and Dom Balasaitis. In the Sodi category, Luke Power is the quickest Sodi out on circuit with a 122.3, 2/10 quicker than Adam Barras, followed by Harry Asher, a further 2/10 back. Then it's half second to Alexei Ivanov, who's ahead of Callum Poulter, Joseph Fletcher, Charlie Fenton, Jay Venadi, Matthew Glazebrook, Aidan Miller, Callum Rankin, Hamish Easner, Barry Morris, and Adam Green. Charlie Fenton looking at securing another pole. Well, I say looking at securing another pole. This isn't qualifying. This is just the practice session. As over the line goes Barry Morris. Is this an improvement for the reigning heavyweight champion? It is indeed. A 122.4. Still just 4/10 shy of Charlie Fenton. But up into second place for Barry with that lap time. Meanwhile, over in the D-Max category, Dom Balasaitis has taken pole for the practice session at the very least. A 109.3, a 109.6 for Jamie Tyler Gooden, and the pair of them, the only drivers in the 109. But as I say that, more drivers come over. Cooper Wozniak, 109.4. James Brown, 109.5. Zach Titterton, a 109.0. Absolutely flying is Mr. Titterton, and almost breaking into the 108s. Ethan Pritchard with a 109.1 jumps up to second in practice. Lee Schnitzler, a 109.7, currently sits in 7th. Then James Pedersen with a 110.0. And behind him come the likes of Ian Riley, Sebastian Musica, and Andy Istrait. Justin Elliott at the moment struggling comparative to his current performances that we have seen in the D-Max Heavyweight Championship. Picking up actually a fastest lap in the last round of the season. Took 3rd place in the heavyweight category. And with a fast lap as well were some much needed points for his championship. Here come the D-Maxes then, as James Pedersen goes up the inside of James Brown through turn 9. And now Jamie Tyler Gooden is going to search for a way through. Has to tuck in behind Brown. And just behind Tyler Gooden is Lee Schnitzler and Cooper Wozniak. Wozniak now going up the inside into turn 1. A little bit of a practice, I think that is, for our race to come. So great little battling happening at the front of the field. James Pedersen putting in a 68.7, nearly 3/10 clear of Jack Titterton. Jamie Tyler Gooden, 2/1000 clear of Zach Titterton, and jumps up into 3rd place. An improvement for Dom Balasaitis as well. Your top 6 drivers separated by just over 0.5 of a second, from James Pedersen all the way down to Kuba Wozniak in 6th place. Very, very close battling out on track. category is Zach Titterton in? Into the pits then are coming a few of our drivers. Now, the reason why drivers come into the pits early in practice is so that they are at the very front of the queue for Super Pole. That way, they don't get caught behind anyone for qualifying and they get nice, clear air. However, Barry Morris has stopped in the sin bin and I don't believe he got a black flag, so I think he might be requesting a kart swap at the end of practice with 5 minutes remaining in qualifying, or with 5 minutes remaining in practice. Kuba Wozniak has made his way into the pits. This is also going to be Wozniak requesting a kart change, or is he just wanting to jump to the very front of the qualifying queue? A lot of drivers coming into the pits as the 1-2-1 kart of Zach Titterton makes his way in. Currently sitting third in the standings as Jamie Tyler Gooden has taken the fastest time in practice, a 1:08.6, a 1:08.7 for James Pedersen, and a 1:09.0 for Zach Titterton. Don Balasaitis on that 1:09.1. We'll see whether the times do improve any further as Adam Barras goes over the line. Lee Schnitzler is into the pits, as are a few more of our D-Max drivers. Adam Barras now at the top of the times for the Sodi category, the number 11 kart with a 1:20.462. Just 16 thousandths clear of Luke Power, who's having a fantastic practice session. Is Luke. He's been finishing second best to Matthew Glazebrook over the course of the season, but it's currently looking like maybe he can one-up his championship rival today. Callum Poulter is in third ahead of Callum Rankin. Then comes championship leader Matthew Glazebrook ahead of Harry Asher, who is sitting in third place in the championship currently. I believe Barry Morris has gone back out on circuit with a new kart. And the checkered flag is out on the DigiFlag. Don Balasaitis, I believe, improved on his last lap with a 1:09.0. Not enough to jump to the top of the times, though. Where is Don Balasaitis? Here he is, making his way into turn 9. The long left-hander. Flat out, I'm told. A little flick of the kart to get the back end out. Then into turn 10. Slowest corner on the circuit alongside turn 8. Little dab on the brakes heading into the final corner on the power as early as possible. Uni using the curb on corner exit. And across the line then for Balasaitis. Will it be an improvement? It is by a few hundredths of a second, but not enough to jump ahead of Zach Titterton. So it is still just over a second separating the top 8 drivers from Jamie Tyler Gooden all the way down to James Brown. In fact, Ian Riley and Sebastian Musica and Lee Schnitzler just a tenth behind. So 1.2 seconds separating your top 11. Incredibly close. Over in the Sodis, Callum Poulter pipping Adam Barras at the very end by, wow, that is really close. 14 thousandths of a second between Poulter and Barras. And then Luke Power is a further 16 thousandths back. So you're looking at exactly 300ths of a second separating your top 3 drivers in the Sodi lightweight category. Then it's Callum Rankin and Matthew Glazebrook, followed by Joseph Fletcher. Joe Fletcher jumping up from the Junior Sprint League, if I'm not mistaken, where he had a really good battle, actually, last season with the likes of Harry Asher and Dylan Patel and Callie Clifford. And now moving up a category, we'll see what Joe Fletcher can do. This is his first time racing in the adult category, and a very respectable practice session, only a tenth shy of championship leader Matthew Glazebrook, and 800ths clear of his former Junior Sprint League rival Harry Asher. I think we're going to be in for a very, very entertaining race in both our in both our D-Max and Sodi categories. So now we are going to be sending out our D-Max drivers for their one-shot qualifying. And then after the D-Maxes do their Super Pole, we'll be having our Sodis out as well. Just having a couple of minutes for a few karts to be tested. And then once those karts are tested, we'll have our D-Maxes out on circuit. So a chance for the drivers to grab a breather. I saw Zach Titterton grabbing a little bottle of water, revitalising himself before qualifying gets underway. And Zach's been very impressive over the course of practice, right up there with Jamie Tyler-Gooden and James Bettison. And just ahead of Don Balasaitis. And both Zach Titterton and Don Balasaitis very narrowly missing out on joining that exclusive 108 club. So our D-Max engines will be started up and Super Pole will now get underway. The field being led by Kuba Wozniak and Zach Titterton. Then will come the 109 of Paul Studd. James Bettison, the red suit and black helmet of James Brown. Lee Schnitzler with the black back and green arms. And then comes the 110, which I'm briefly forgetting who that is. Andy Estrait, of course it's Andy Estrait. And then just behind Andy is Ethan Pritchard, Ian Riley, Sebastian Musica. And behind Sebastian Musica, that is the anonymous of Kart 118, which is a bit frustrating because that is a new helmet and suit. So I actually have no idea who that is. I might have to do a little bit of asking to find out. Who is in Kart 118? Here comes Kuba Wozniak then into turn 9 on his out lap as he gets ready to start his one and only flying lap. And that's what makes Super Champs very exciting. That one hot lap for qualifying can really scupper what would be a normal grid start, and it can leave some of the quick drivers slightly further down the field and some of the drivers who'd usually be in the midfield further up the order. And it all comes down to how consistent can drivers be? How much do they want to risk it for the biscuit? And here at Daytona Milton Keynes, it is a very tricky circuit to get right. Turns 2 and 3, you have to be so committed. And if you get it slightly wrong, you can lose so much time. The same can be said down into link back corner, turn 6. Turn 10 as well, you carry a lot of speed, or you try to carry a lot of speed into a very slow corner. You get it slightly wrong, you end up sliding, and you get no traction coming out of the corner. Kuba Wozniak, though, will be making his way out of turn 8 and onto what we like to call Railway Straight, because you guessed it, it runs alongside the railway line. And there is Kuba Wozniak tucking his head down as he makes his way into the long left-hander alongside the newly painted curb in the Ukrainian flag colours. Round turn 10, this is looking to be a good lap for Kuba Wozniak. Zach Titterton has not been able to close in visibly anywhere across the line then for Wozniak. And it will, of course, be provisional pole, a 109.4. That is a pretty slick lap time. What can Zach Titterton do? A 109.7. Not enough to jump ahead, but James Bedison, a 108.96, takes provisional pole. James Brown, a 109.2, jumps up to second. Andy Istrate in P5. Lee Schnitzler has only been able to do a 110.1. Ethan Pritchard, a 108.8, takes provisional pole away from James Bedison. Still waiting for the likes of Jamie Tyler Gooden and Don Balasaitis. There goes Balasaitis over the line. Only good enough for P2 by 1/100th of a second. Don Balasaitis in second. What about Tyler Gooden? He comes over the line. It's pole for Jamie Tyler Gooden, a 108.6. He does it by 2.5 of a second. Ethan Pritchard will be lining up alongside him on the front row of the grid. Don Balasaitis and championship leader James Bedison will be on row 2. James Brown starts in 5th, but is the quickest of all of the heavyweights and will rather rightfully have Kuba Wozniak starting alongside him on row 3, also in that heavyweight class. Zach Titterton will be starting down in P7 ahead of Andy Istrate, the anonymous of kart 118. Then comes Sebastian Musica. Lee Schnitzler struggling in that qualifying session after showing some very, very good pace in practice. Ian Riley down in P12 ahead of Justin Elliott. And then Paul Studd and Andrew McMeekin complete the field. 3 seconds separating your top 15 drivers. Just 0.8 separating the top 6. And as our D-Max drivers head into the pit lane, our Sodis will be released from the pits. Jamie Tyler Gooden, though, I guess, put in that Damon Hill kind of lap time, or kind of qualifying. Fastest lap at the very end, saving the best to last, or however you like to phrase it. I'm sure there'll be a little smile under Jamie's helmet once he finds out that he put it in first. Seeing a little shake of the head from Jamie, so maybe he isn't too happy with his own qualifying lap. It's a pretty good lap, to be fair. 2.5 tenths clear of anyone else, but that is Super Pole. Sometimes you make those little mistakes. Everyone makes those little mistakes. And it's not necessarily the best times that you'll be seeing over the course of the day. Sodi's out onto circuit then, and they should be making their way out of turn 8 onto the railway straight shortly. There is a yellow flag out at the moment, as is that Charlie Fenton making his way through turn 7 and then down towards the hairpin of turn 8. I do believe it is. Who is that yellow flag for? Because I haven't seen Barry Morris. Oh, there he is. Barry Morris has just left pit lane. I thought he was at the very front of the queue. Apparently not. Here comes Charlie Fenton then through the long sweeping left-hander of turn 9. Completely flat and an easy flat in the Sodi karts. And then into the final corner, turn 11. And on to the start-finish straight to begin his Super Pole session. Through turn 1 he goes. Former heavyweight champion, not the reigning heavyweight champion. That title sits with Barry Morris, who will be our final driver to cross the line. And another reminder to all of our viewers trackside, we are live streaming today's race. So if you want to share the video feed with your friends, with your family, then you can do so. It's over on YouTube on the channel Milky Cereal. Now, Charlie Fenton should be making his way out of turn 8 very soon. Barry Morris is heading into turn 9. He's got a big gap in front of him to Hamish Easener. And Charlie Fenton, there comes his helmet over the crest towards that flat out turn 9. He'll be our first Sodi kart to set a representative lap time. We'll be slotting in behind Andrew McMeekin most likely for what will be P16 overall. Here he comes then. Charlie Fenton rounds the final corner and over the line he comes. What will the lap time be for Charlie? It's a 1:22.1, which if memory serves me correctly is relatively good. Here comes Harry Asher over the line. Can he beat Charlie's lap time? He can indeed. A 1:21.585, 6/10 clear of Charlie Fenton. Then comes Matthew Glazebrook. What's it looking like for Matthew? Only good enough for P3, a 1:21.6. That's beaten by Callum Rankin, who takes provisional pole with a 1:21.2, 3/10 clear of Harry Asher. There goes Adam Barris over the line. He's one to watch out for. Only good enough for second, a 1:21.244, 8,000 shy of Callum Rankin. But then Callum Poulter blows them both apart with a 1:20.991. Nearly 3/10 quicker than everyone else. Adam Green jumps up to P4. What a lap from Adam. Much quicker than he was in practice. He puts in a 1:21.534. That's 200ths quicker than Luke Power, who can only take P5. But still a good lap for Luke Power ahead of Harry Asher, who's battling with for second in the championship. And ahead of Matthew Glazebrook, who is leading the championship. Alexei Ivanov follows. Then comes Joseph Fletcher. Charlie Fenton is ahead of Hamish Eisner, Javen Addy, and Aidan Miller. Barry Morris only able to do a 1:22.6, a 10th shy of Aidan Miller, and half a second shy of Charlie Fenton, who has claimed the Sodi heavyweight pole. So with that, our Sodis will head into the pit lane, and then we will be taking all of our karts out onto circuit, gridding them up on the run into turn 10 and getting underway with our rolling start for our 30-minute sprint race. So just a reminder then of what our Sodi grid is looking like. Callum Poulter is on pole with Callum Rankin alongside him. It's an all Callum front row. There you go, that's pretty cool. And then listen to this. It's an all Callum front row, and then it's an all Adam row too. Adam Barris ahead of Adam Green. Luke Power is in 5th, and it's not Luke, it's Harry Asher, who is in P6, ahead of Matthew Glazebrook, Alexei Ivanov, and then Joseph Fletcher and Charlie Fenton. Our D-Max engines have been fired up, and they will make their way on to the second straight, the run towards the chicane. We'll have those D-Maxes stopped on the approach into turn number 9. That is the long left-hander. That is pretty much just in front of the gantry. And then we'll have them gridded up into turn 10. And our Sodis will be stopped a little bit earlier on the back straight and gridded up on the approach into 9. But things are looking rather feisty in both our Sodi and our D-Max categories. Some very close lap times in that Sodi class. You're looking at, well, half a second really separating the top 5 drivers from Callum Poulter down to Harry Asher. And then, well, you have the likes of Matthew Glazebrook and Alexei Ivanov, who are less than a 10th down on those two. About 8/10 separating the top 8 or so drivers from Callum Poulter down to Joseph Fletcher. And our D-Maxes have now pretty much all come to a halt on the approach into turn 9. You can see that on your camera just about, I think. Now our Sodis are being relinquished from the pit lane. We'll get them lined up behind the D-Maxes. And then we'll have them gridded up on the run down into turn 10. So just to wait for the Sodis to come to a stop on the back straight, and then we can grid up both of our categories and get underway with our 30 minutes of racing. Sun still out and shining, relatively warm weather, although I'm seeing some jumpers and coats being put on, as there is a little bit of a breeze, which is very nice if you're in the kart, especially when you're stationary, sitting low down in the basking sun. A nice little breeze does help you to cool down just that little bit. And our D-Maxes are starting to be lined up. There is Jamie Tyler Gooden coming to a stop into the hairpin of turn 10. And then it is Ethan Pritchard, followed by Dom Balasatis. Dom Balasatis will be paired up with James Bedison on row 2. James Bedison, the current championship leader. And Jamie Tyler Gooden will be hoping that Ethan Pritchard and Dom Balasatis can stay between himself and Bedison, and that way he can close in the 6 points that he is currently trailing in the championship. It'll also be good for Dom Balasatis to get a few extra points and close down his deficit. Dom Balasatis is currently just 1 point ahead of Ethan Pritchard in the championship. The pair of them, though, having missed a single round. There is Ian Riley, lining up just behind Lee Schnitzler. Then I believe that is Justin Elliott, who will line up alongside Ian. And then that is, I believe, Paul Studd and Andrew McMeekin to complete our D-Max field. And now we can get our Sodis gridded up. Callum Poulter on pole with Callum Rankin in second. Callum Rankin in that red helmet, dark suit. Adam Barris will be starting in third with Adam Green alongside him. Adam Green currently sitting fourth in the championship. A best result this season of a P5. I'm sure he'd be absolutely delighted to get a podium and get his first ever Super Champ silverware. Harry Asher has had a couple of podiums, 2 third places and a P5. Season third in the championship, just 2 points behind Luke Power. Matthew Glazebrook, 12 points clear. This might be a damage limitation race for him, starting much further down the field. He's going to have a lot of work to do. Right, all of our karts are gridded up And we are ready then to get our D-Maxes fired up and get our race underway. 30 minutes of action to come here at Daytona Milton Keynes. The D-Maxes, the engines have started. Jamie Tyler Gooden, Ethan Pritchard on the front row of the grid. There they go through turn 10. Don Balasaitis, James Pedersen on row 2. And then it's the heavies of James Brown and Kuba Wozniak behind them. How early will Tyler Gooden pull the trigger? We've seen the likes of Nathan James in the past going very, very early, and it can catch the field out. Now, Saudis have also begun their rolling start a little bit further back. But we are underway. Jamie Tyler Gooden leads the field. Ethan Pritchard will hang it around the outside of turn 1, and they're still side by side heading into the chicane. Balasaitis goes up the inside of Pritchard. They're still side by side through turn 3, but Balasaitis will now have the inside heading into turn 4. He sends it up the inside of Ethan Pritchard and up into second place. Balasaitis in second behind Tyler Gooden, who leads. Ethan Pritchard in third, and then comes James Pedersen, but Ethan Pritchard fights back through turn 5. Our Saudis are underway. Callum Poulter leading. Adam Barras going up the inside of Callum into the chicane, and again, just like Don Balasaitis tried, up the inside into turn 4, no success, and Callum Poulter will be leading the field away ahead of Callum Rankin, and then comes Adam Barras, and is that, I believe, Luke Power has been able to find his way ahead of Adam Green as he head towards the link back hairpin, but here come the D-Maxes. Jamie Tyler Gooden has a very comfortable lead. It's not comfortable, though, for Don Balasaitis, because he has James Pedersen right on his heels. And who is that who has found a way through on Kuba Wozniak and up into P5 overall? I believe that is Zach Titterton. So Zach Titterton now at the back end of this lightweight battle. I believe Zach is racing in the lightweight field. So it is 5 lightweights at the very front of the field. Lee Schnitzler has been able to make his way up into third place in the heavyweight class. So here comes Adam Barras trying to stick to the back of Callum Rankin. And through the final corner they go. Through turn 1, and Adam Barras having a little nosy into turn 2. But right now, sitting nose to tail. Luke Power ahead of Adam Green after a good opening lap. Adam Green in the black suit and black helmet has Matthew Glazebrook right behind him. And Don Balasaitis has dropped a position to James Pedersen, who is now up to P3. And Pedersen will be searching for a way through on Ethan Pritchard. Through the final corner they go. And actually, Zach Titterton closing in onto Don Balasaitis in this battle for P4. Jamie Tyler Gooden trying to use his opportunity just to stretch out a lead at the very front of the field. And there goes Pedersen up the inside of Ethan Pritchard. Will just compromise his exit. Now Don Balasaitis is back on the rear end of Pedersen as they head through turn 5. All of this working out beautifully for Jamie Tyler Gooden, who is leading the field by nearly 2 seconds at this point. Here comes Callum Poulter, Callum Rankin down into turn 10. The pair of them have been able to pull. Adam Barras has dropped a few positions, so Luke Power is up into P3 ahead of Adam Green. Then comes Adam Barras, followed by Matthew Glazebrook, Harry Asher, and Joe Fletcher. And Barry Morris has found his way ahead of Charlie Fenton, who has his hand up in the air in frustration. But it is Barry Morris who is leading ahead of, I believe that is Hamish Eaton, and Aidan Miller is in third place. So drama as James Pedersen goes up the inside of Ethan Pritchard through the final corner. Don Balasaitis trying to follow through, but Ethan Pritchard carries the momentum beautifully and holds on to P2. And again, Jamie Tyler Gooden, he might be having a little glance over his shoulder every now and then, and a wry smile under his helmet as he sees the gap increasing to this second place battle behind him. Pedersen on the exit of turn 5 tries to keep it tight, can't get the traction, can't get the drive, and can't get P2. That is still being held by Ethan Pritchard. Through link back they go into turn 7, and then back down the hill. Still Poulter from Rankin, And then it's Luke Power who has really reeled in these leading two. Rankin super late on the brakes. You can see the rear end of that Sodi kart twitching down into turn 10. But the top three in their own little gaggle of karts right now, and the D-Maxes are closing in on the Sodis. And this is going to be a really vital part of the race for Jamie Tyler Gooden. James Peterson is clear of Ethan Pritchard as Balasatis goes up the inside of Wozniak. So Wozniak had passed Balasatis. Balasatis trying to fight back, but Wozniak is on an absolute flyer right now, battling with the lightweight classes and clear of James Brown by a few seconds. Where is Jamie Tyler Gooden? I think he's already past a few of our Sodi karts. And here comes James Pedersen catching up to an absolute squabble. Charlie Fenton duking right now with a couple of Sodis as Pedersen goes up the inside of all three of them down into link back corner. I believe it's Fenton battling with Javen Addy and Aidan Miller currently, as through turn 7 they go, and it's just a stream of helmets making their way down the hill towards turn 8. Here is Callum Poulter, followed by Callum Rankin, and then it is Luke Power. Luke Power is driving absolutely phenomenally today. Rankin a bit of contact on the back of Poulter. He won't mind too much. Adam Barris has highly good and flying through. And there is Matthew Glazebrook, the Sodi Championship leader, right behind Adam Barris. Adam Barris trying to navigate his way back through the field and make amends for whatever incident he had that saw him dropping out of P3. It's up the inside of Glazebrook goes Peterson. He's on the outside now for turn 3. That's going to cost him a lot of time. As Charlie Fenton goes up the inside of Hamish Eisner through turn 1. And there is Justin Elliott just in front of that trio of karts. Is that an overtake? I think that was Charlie Fenton maybe. No, that was actually Hamish Eisner battling with Sebastian Misicka in the D-Max class as Misicka ended up having to look for the switchback out of turn 4. Here comes Tyler Gooden then. Last time round, he was able to pull half a second to James Pedersen, a fast lap of a 1:08.3. Sorry, last time round, identical time to James Pedersen. His fast lap is half a second quicker than James. And some more clean air. Clean air, though, for James Pedersen. Let's see what James Pedersen can do now that he has a clean circuit in front of him for the first time this race. 69.0 for Jamie Tyler Gooden that time round. James Pedersen, a 68.9. The gap, 2.9 seconds. And let's see what happens to the gap as Javen Addy gets passed by Hamish Eisner up the inside into the hairpin of turn 10. As Luke Power, I think, try to have a go up the inside of Callum Rankin into turn 4. Has to back out of the move as the D-Maxes try to find their way through. And Rankin has lost a lot of time now to Poulter. Actually, is that Callum Poulter? Has Callum Poulter dropped down the order? I think he has. I think Callum Rankin is leading from Callum Poulter now. So I'm not sure what has happened, but we have a new leader in the Sodi class. So I'll confirm that once they make their way down into turn 9. Here is Tyler Gooden, Bettison and Pritchard, followed by Zach Titton, who has a shake of his head as he goes wide through turn 10. And then here come our Sodi, surely. Okay, that is still Poulter at the front. So sorry for scaring everyone. Then it's Luke Power up the inside. Oh, that is too late. Too late from Callum Rankin. He apologises. And he's trying to say to Luke Power, look, go back past me. I'm really sorry about that. My fault entirely. Is a hand in the air from Power. I think Rankin is fully aware of this. But now Adam Barris has been brought into the mix. He's trying to go up the inside of Rankin through turn 1. He's got the inside in for turn 2. Matthew Glazebrook, watching all of this unfold, will try to follow the drama. Taps the tyre barriers on the exit of turn 3. And up the inside he goes. Is that one of the back markers through the hairpin of turn 4? I believe it is. So it is now Luke Power who is up to second, ahead of Adam Barris. Then comes Callum Rankin, and then is Matthew Glazebrook. So Callum Rankin, he thought he had the opportunity to send it up the inside of the hairpin. A little bit too late on the brakes. Contact between the pair, and they both lose a lot of time. Both Tyler Gooden and Bettison have improved new personal bests. 108.2 for Tyler Gooden, 108.4 for Bettison. 108.4 that time round for Jamie Tyler Gooden, and Bettison a 108.2. So trading lap times in the gap, 2.9 seconds. And the fastest lap of the race goes the way of James Bettison. Zach Titterton currently 2 seconds behind Ethan Pritchard, and he's got Cooper Wozniak for company, half a second back. And then 2/10 further behind is Dom Balasaitis, who is currently looking at a P6, a P5 in class, which will not do much good for him in the championship. We'll see him drop behind Ethan Pritchard and out of the top 3. Charlie Fenton is right behind Barry Morris. So this is a battle for the heavyweight race lead. Through turn 1 they go. And Fenton is going up the inside into the chicane. Oh, contact between the two of them. And Barry Morris will say Charlie Fenton was not fully up the inside. Fenton, though, tries to get the switchback out of 3 on the outside for 4. Now has a switchback out of turn 4. They're still side by side, heading down into turn 5. But Charlie Fenton has got the move done. A bit of contact between them, both of them heavyweight champions. And it is Charlie Fenton who takes the lead of the heavyweight class. Cross the line then for Tyler Gooden and Bettison. And it's a 108.1 for Jamie Tyler Gooden, who takes a new fast lap of the race. Another 108.2 for Bettison. Ethan Pritchard with a 108.2, his new personal best. Zach Titson also personal best, 108.6. Then it's Dom Balasaitis, a 108.5, matching his personal best. Then comes Cooper Wozniak and James Brown. Also Lee Schnitzler, currently running P8, sets his new fast lap of the race, a 109.5. A 10th shy of what James Brown was able to do, and currently 3 seconds behind on circuit, as Charlie Fenton has Barry Morris directly behind him. Adam Barris right behind Luke Power. The pair of them are definitely closing in onto Callum Poulter. Last time round, Callum Poulter a 120.7, Luke Power a 120.1, Adam Barris a 119.8. A new fast lap of the race for Adam Barris, and he's just pushing Luke Power along as these two are closing in onto the race leader. Zach Titton has Dom Balasaitis directly behind him for company over in the D-Max class in the battle for P4. And Dom Balasaitis, new fastest lap of the race, a 108.1. It's taken Dom 10-15 minutes, but he started to find a rhythm. He looks for the switchback out of turn 5. Doesn't quite have enough momentum. Fair play to Zach Titton as well. 108.5, his new PB. Ethan Pritchard, 108.229. Also his personal best. So the leaders all lapping in those mid to low 108s. Can Dom Balasaitis really reel them in? He is currently 3 seconds behind Ethan Pritchard, right behind Zach Titton. As Adam Barris continues to push Luke Power. Will they continue to work together though? No, they won't, because Adam Barris gets a switchback out of the final corner. He's on the inside into turn 1. The battle for second place. Power on the outside, Barris on the inside into turn 2. Later on the brakes from Barris, and up into second place he goes. Balasaitis has been able to find a way through on Zach Titton. Kuba Wozniak will follow the duo through as they put a lap on Charlie Fenton. Barry Morris has really dropped back. He's fallen behind Hamish Eisner. He's fallen behind Javen Addy as well, as James Brown gets caught up in the traffic somewhat. Tyler Gooden, 108.5. Bettison, 108.7. Balasaitis, 109.3 as he overtakes Zach Titton. Callum Poulter, 126 or 120.6. Luke Power, 120.4. 120.3 for Adam Barris. Callum Rankin, 120.5. Matthew Glazebrook, fastest of the top 5 with a 120.229. So the top 5 are definitely Constantinoing up together. And this race is by no means done. 17 minutes remaining. We're about halfway through. And as I always like to say, if you can lose that much time in the first half of the race, well, you can gain that much time in the next half. As I thought that was going to be a move from Bettison up the inside of Barris. Into turn 10, decides against it as Ethan Pritchard trying to close in onto James Bettison. In fairness to Ethan Pritchard, he has definitely closed into James Bettison through this traffic. Bettison goes up the inside now of Callum Poulter into the chicane. That's going to hold up Callum Poulter as he gets stuck behind Bettison. Ethan Pritchard is now pretty much right on the back of James Bettison coming out of turn 4. Callum Poulter 120.1. 120.3 from Adam Barras, 120.9 for both Luke Power and Callum Rankin. Matthew Glazebrook with a 120.2. And Glazebrook is right on the back of Rankin now as they head towards link back corner. As turn 6 is out of our view. We'll see them pop back up into view momentarily into turn 7 as Cooper Wozniak slices his way through on Adam Barras. And that is indeed Matthew Glazebrook past Rankin. So Matthew Glazebrook has taken the position, although, as I say that, Callum Rankin looked to be getting the switchback on the exit of turn 7. This is the battle right now for P4. Not just in the lightweight class, but overall in the Sodies. As Don Balasaitis tries to hunt down Ethan Pritchard, and he'll be hoping that Ethan Pritchard can battle furiously with James Bettison. The D-Maxes have a bit of clean air now as well. Adam Barras has stretched out a gap to Luke Power and is visibly closing in onto Callum Poulter. Matthew Glazebrook behind Callum Rankin once more. Last time round then, Callum Poulter, 120.4. 119.889 for Adam Barras. 120.686 for Luke Power. Matthew Glazebrook clearly has the pace, but he needs to find a bit of clean air. At the front, Jamie Tylee Gooden, new fastest lap of the race. A 108.068. A 10th clear of Don Balasaitis, who is now 3.2 seconds behind Ethan Pritchard, who is in turn half a second behind James Bettison. Ethan Pritchard taking half a second out of Bettison on that last lap. Here comes Tylee Gooden out of turn 10. There is Bettison and Ethan Pritchard. I think Bettison has been able to stretch a bit of a gap. Zach Titterton still sitting right behind Don Balasaitis, and then Cooper Wozniak a couple of seconds further back as Cooper Wozniak tries to gain some very important points in the championship as he closes in to James Brown. Currently has a fast lap, so will be taking 3 points out of James Brown's 6-point championship lead. Bettison, 108.3, 108.5 for Pritchard, 108.4 for Balasaitis and Titterton. So practically identical times in the D-Max class. There goes Poulter and Barras through turn 1. And then it's a bit of a gap to Luke Power and Callum Rankin. And Matthew Glazebrook has lost a bit of time in the process of being lapped by some of our D-Maxes. That's just how it goes. Sometimes you gain time when you're lapping or being a lappy, and sometimes you lose time. Tylee Fenton, though, looking at picking up his 3rd race win in a row and looking at a fastest lap as well. Another 51 points. Balasaitis wide through turn 10. A little push from Titterton on a corner exit. I think Titterton wants to work with Balasaitis to close in onto Ethan Pritchard. They have 12 minutes remaining in the race. That's the equivalent of about 11 laps. Plenty of time. But is it enough? 108.1s for Bettison and Pritchard. 107.8 for Jamie Tylee Gooden. Absolutely flying. The first driver of the day into the 107s. Balasaitis 108.4, 108.3 for Titterton. They're lapping quickly, but Bettison and Pritchard with these low 108s are just slowly eking out their advantage. And Jamie Tylee Gooden absolutely flying at the very front of the field. He put it on pole. He wasn't happy with his pole lap, and to be honest, I think I can see why he wasn't happy with his pole lap now that he's setting 107s. Barry Morris has found a way back through on Hamish Easner and can try to close in onto Charlie Fenton once again. Here is Bettison and Pritchard through turn 10. And then comes Balasaitis and Titterton. Titterton is pointing forward furiously, nodding his head. He's got some rock music going on under the helmet. I don't think he wants to overtake Balasaitis. I think he wants to keep on pushing him. He can see Pritchard and Bettison further up the field. 108.2 for both Balasaitis and Titterton. 108.5 for Bettison. 108.3 for Pritchard. And actually, the slowest of all of them was Jamie Tylee Gooden, who puts in a 108.6. But he has a 6-second lead at the front of the field, so I doubt he's too worried. And he'll be happy to risk losing half a second on one lap just to find that extra 1/10 on another lap, just so he can continue to set these faster and faster lap times. Might be bordering, if he doesn't already have the lap record now for the link-back courses. We have a battle as Callum Rankin goes up the inside of turn 10. Matthew Glazebrook on the outside. They're still side-by-side on corner exit. Glazebrook is going to get the drive. Glazebrook is ahead through turn 1. These two have been battling for quite a while. They're still side-by-side into the chicane. Glazebrook round the outside of 2, inside for 3. And Glazebrook is up ahead of Callum Rankin heading into the hairpin of turn 4. But Adam Barras has really stretched his lead to Luke Power, who is a few seconds up the road from Matthew Glazebrook. Now that Glazebrook has some clean air, can he close into Luke Power for the final spot on the podium? Remember, Glazebrook's not too worried about Poulter and Barras in the championship. They've missed the first 3 rounds. It's Luke Power, who is only 12 points behind Glazebrook. That's the driver that Matthew Glazebrook is fighting with in the championship. A 109.0 that time round for Tyler Gooden. Bettison and Pritchard, 108.2s, 108.3s, 109.0, 109.1 for Balasaitis and Titterton. The gap between Pritchard and Balasaitis has extended up to 4 seconds now. Kuba Wozniak 7 seconds clear of James Brown in the battle for the heavyweight class win. Callum Poulter, look over his shoulder out of turn 10. Still has that gap to Adam Barras. Adam Barras, 119.8 last time round. Poulter, a 120.5. This time round, 120.3 for Poulter, 120.5 for Barras. Power with a 120.1. Glazebrook with a 121.0. But Matthew Glazebrook did have to overtake Callum Rankin on that particular occasion. Jamie Tyler Gooden now navigating his way through on the Sodi class leaders past the Adam Barras. And now on to Callum Poulter into the hairpin. Justin Elliott has Sebastian Musick and Ian Riley behind him. This is a really good battle for, I think that is P3 in the heavyweight category of the D-Maxes. Bettison flies up the inside of Poulter. Ethan Pritchard has to go the long way round Adam Barras and then up the inside into turn 10. And Titterton has found a way through on Balasaitis now. So Zach Titterton has made his way up into P4. Can Don Balasaitis fight back? He's going to try. 108.7 for Titterton, taking 4/10 out of Ethan Pritchard. They got 3.5 seconds though, and I think they won't be able to close in. They just have to squabble amongst themselves at this point. Callum Poulter desperately trying to close in, or pardon me, Adam Barras trying to desperately close in onto Callum Poulter, who I think has a little lift to allow the D-Maxes through before link back corner. Jay Venatti right behind Barry Morris. Seven or so minutes remaining now here for round 4 of the Daytona Milton Keynes Super Champs. Across the line then for Jamie Tyler Gooden. What kind of lap time are we looking at? 107.842, a new fast lap of the race for Jamie Tyler Gooden. 108.1 for James Bettison, Ethan Pritchard, 108.5. What about Zach Titterton and Dom Balasaitis? 108.5, 108.6 respectively. 109.9 for Kuba Wozniak. Matthew Glazebrook starting to pull a couple of kart lengths ahead of Callum Rankin. Still Justin Elliott ahead of Sebastian Musick and Ian Riley. Sebastian Musick has really been improving over the year. Half a year to a year ago, he would have been about a second off the pace of Ian Riley and Justin Elliott. And now he's well and truly a part of this battle. Been phenomenal to see his improvement over the last few months. Don Malasatis right behind Titterton through the final corner. This is the battle for P4. Adam Barras has closed in onto Callum Poulter. The gap is visibly a lot less. And maybe now with a couple of D-Maxes lapping him, this could give the opportunity for Adam Barras to really get onto the back of Callum Poulter. These two know each other very well. And there is Luke Power. Luke Power has had an absolutely stonker of a drive. Hats off to him. Harry Asher has a half spin through turn 10. He was closing in on... Oh, sorry, that's not Harry Asher. That's Joe Fletcher, pardon me. Is that Matthew Glazebrook? Has Matthew Glazebrook dropped down the order? So something has happened with Matthew Glazebrook. He's dropped from running in P4 behind, or P5 behind Callum Rankin to really far down the field. He's behind Harry Asher and Alexei Ivanov. Joe Fletcher is ahead of Harry Asher. So Joe Fletcher, I've not quite seen where that's happened, but cracking drive from Joe. Jamie Tully-Gooden, new fast lap of the race of 107.708. Absolutely lighting up the timing sheet as he continues to improve and continues to set the pace. Do we know what the D-Max record is for Linkback Circuit? Adam Barras just a few kart lengths behind Callum Poulter. Last time round for Barras, only a 10th out of Poulter. He's gaining, but very, very slightly. There goes Harry Asher, and is that Joseph Fletcher just in front of Harry Asher? I think it might very well be. So Joseph Fletcher is making his way down towards turn 5. And then just behind him is Harry Asher. Joseph Fletcher is closing in onto Callum Rankin. So last time round, Fletcher took half a second out of Rankin. And that is a battle for P4. What a start to Joseph Fletcher's Super Champs career this would be. P4 in a race with Callum Poulter and Adam Barras. And a race where Luke Power is having probably the drive of his life. Here is Poulter and Barras. And that is Sebastian Musica ahead of Justin Elliott. They're side by side heading into the final corner. But Sebastian Musica has been able to pass Justin Elliott and pass Ian Riley. And he's looking at taking his first ever podium in the D-Max heavyweight class. Absolutely fantastic stuff this is from Sebastian Musica. He's pulled a kart length as well to Justin Elliott. Through turn 4 he goes, and down the hill towards turn 5. Here is Ethan Pritchard. Charlie Fenton gets lapped now by Zach Titterton. Tom Balasatis goes up the inside of Fenton through the final corner. Here is Musica, followed by Elliott and Riley. Nose to tail. Riley might have a go into the final corner. Never mind, Elliott has a little look. Can't quite get up the inside of Musica. Backs out of the move. And that's going to allow Ian Riley to close in. And look at Callum Poulter. He's within a kart length. Sorry, Adam Barras is within a kart length now of Callum Poulter. Race on for the Sodi lightweight class win. Here is Joe Fletcher with Harry Asher directly behind him. These two have battled many times in the Junior Sprint League back when it was called the Junior Super Champs. Do they work together to try to close in onto Callum Rankin? I doubt it. Does Harry Asher go up the inside into 4? Sits behind for now. Little dab on the brakes from Asher. I think Fletcher just lifted into turn 4, which is incredibly impressive. And I think Aidan Miller is right behind Barry Morris. Never mind, he's a few seconds back as we approach the dying minutes of this race. Oh, a bit of contact between Riley and Elliott. Riley going up the inside of Justin Elliott into 2. Elliott holds the outside, which becomes the inside for 3. And Callum Poulter is under a lot of pressure from Adam Barras as they head through the final corner to start one of the final laps of the race. Keep your eyes out for this battle. Adam Barras has been waiting a long time. He's not going to wait any longer. Up the inside he goes of Callum Poulter into turn 4. Poulter, nerves of steel, hangs it around the outside, carries the momentum. But Adam Barras is going to force Poulter to go defensive through 5. Gets the switch back on corner exit. Poulter's trying to jump his cart forward. Into link back they go. Barras on the inside. Poulter on the outside. Callum Poulter has been leading this race from the very start. But will he be leading anymore? Through into turn 7 they go, and it is still Callum Poulter ahead of Adam Barras as they head down the hill towards turn 8. We only have 1 or so laps to go. Here comes Jamie Tyler Gooden. Is that the checkered flag being radiated? It is indeed. Jamie Tyler Gooden will take the race win and the fastest lap as well. A perfect day for Jamie Tyler Gooden. James Pedersen will come home in P2. Here's Poulter up the inside of Barras into 10. Barras gets the switch back. Poulter's going to have the inside into the final corner. Barras goes defensive. Poulter now has to look for the switch back. Can't find it. Adam Barras parks the car on the apex. And Adam Barras on the last lap of the race steals the race win away from Callum Poulter. What a race between the pair of them. And what a way to do it for Adam Barras. Callum Poulter then will have to take second. Luke Power, a phenomenal P3. Callum Rankin will take P4 ahead of Joseph Fletcher. Then comes Harry Asher, Alexei Ivanov, Matthew Glazebrook, Adam Green, Charlie Fenton winning in the heavyweight class ahead of Barry Morris, Aidan Miller and Hamish Easoner. In the D-Maxes, Jamie Tyler Gooden wins 7.5 seconds clear of James Pedersen. Then comes Ethan Pritchard. Zach Titterton finishing in P4, just 0.3 clear of Don Balasaitis. Kuba Wozniak takes P6 and the race win in the heavyweight class. James Brown comes home in P7, second in the heavyweight class. Then comes the Anonymous of 118. I don't know if they're a heavyweight or not. Andy Estrait, Lee Schnitzler will be taking third in the heavyweight class ahead of Sebastian Misika, who takes P4. And that, I think, is the best ever drive I've seen from Sebastian Misika. A phenomenal drive to finish ahead of both Ian Riley and Justin Elliott. With that, I'll be signing out of the comms and signing out of the YouTube stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And for those of you at the circuit, I'll see you up in the pavilion for presentations shortly.